Okay, so I'm gonna start with the market update because everybody wants to know what's happening in the market. So this is October stats. I'll pass it around, you can look at it. The dark bar, I don't have color in my printer anymore apparently. The dark bar is last year, October, and the light one is this year. So compared to last year we had 228 units sell. When I look at my stats, I consider everything that a single family would live in. So a townhouse, apartment, single family home, that's with or without suite, mobile home, any of those types. So 228 sold last October. This October was 115 sold. So that's telling you last year we were low inventory, but we had tons of sales happening. And this year we are high inventory, lots for sale, but not many purchases going through. And then the average price. So last year's average sales price was $653. This year's average sales price for this category was $601. You may see different numbers because I make my own stats, I pull my own stuff, whereas the board puts out stats and they use slightly different criteria. So yeah, so 653 last year versus 601 this year. So that's quite a dip. Days on market last year was 20, this year 35. So it's taking that much longer, like almost 100% longer to sell. But last year, we have to remember we're comparing to a market where it was very busy. And then at the end of October of 2021, we had 551 houses left for sale, which I told you we were very low inventory. This year, October, we have 1,373 available at the end of October. So those numbers give us a month's supply, and that tells us if we're in a seller's market, a balanced market, or a buyer's market. So month's supply last year at the end of October was 2.26 months, which is everything will sell in 2.26 months if nothing new comes on the market, which is like far into a seller's market. And we're now at 7.67. So the cutoff is about 5. So 1 to 5 is a seller's market, 5 to 7 is a balanced market, and 7 plus is a buyer's market. So you guys can look at that if you're interested and pass it around. So you all know what I do, I sell houses. That's not hard. So what I'm going to do is talk about my specialty, because I specialize in investment properties, and I'm always telling people buy a rental, and everyone's like, well, what am I going to do with that? Why would I do that? So by the end of today, you're going to be going home and saying, how can I get my hands on a rental property? Because that's how excited you're going to be. And right now it's great because compared to a few months ago when I was running the numbers, it looked pretty abysmal. The amount of rent you could get versus what you're paying for property did not balance out. But with prices coming down, now is the time to start looking, talk to Amanda, and get your financing in order so that you can have cash in hand and be ready to buy something. So there's kind of a few things you look at when you're buying a rental property. The first one is cash flow. Some people buy properties just to break even. I don't believe in that. I don't think that's a good principle to follow. You want to have money coming out of it because you need to save up for maintenance. Like a roof costs $10,000. That's a lot of money that you'll have to put into it. And do you want that to come out of your pocket, or do you want to have it pay for itself? Same as furnaces, hot water tanks, they go. You have to replace those. So the first thing you look at is cash flow. So that's your income minus your expenses. Pretty basic, but it needs to be a positive number, not a negative number. So that's how much money you have left over at the end of the month. The next thing, when it specifically comes to investment properties that you'll hear people talk about, is a cap rate. So that stands for capitalization rate. And the formula is your net operating income. So that's the amount of money left over, your cash flow basically, divided by the cost of the investment. So your total purchase price. So how much you pay for it, any rentals or updates you put into it, and then you multiply that by 100, you can get a percentage. The last few years, a good cap rate has been 4%. That's kind of the best you can get or could get. But generally you're aiming for 6+% to make it a profitable investment. And that's based on a yearly value. The next one that we look at is ROI. So that is return on investment. So here you're taking how much you earn over the year and divide that by the actual cash amount that you put in. So if you take $100,000 equity out of your house and put it into a rental property, that's the cash you invested, not the whole purchase price of say $600,000, but the $100,000 that you actually took out of your pocket and put in. Because the rest of your $600,000 that you're paying on a mortgage and whatnot is hopefully coming out of the house, right? It should be, like I said, paying for itself. So your yearly gains divided by your invested dollars times 100 gives you a yearly value as well. And that is kind of in comparison to if you had, say, a GIC or mutual funds or whatever, that would be the same type of rate. So with GIC, you'll get like 1 to 3% generally. So on this, you can compare that. I can't tell you exactly what a great ROI is because that depends on what you're looking for an investment. So I'm going to pass some things around. This one is just a spreadsheet that I did for a client about a month ago, and it'll give you the cap rates and the ROI on it, and it shows you how much you have to put down. So this was on a $500,000 down payment, and then it shows how much the mortgage is, the purchase price, cash flow, all that kind of stuff. So if you look at the cap rates and the ROI, that will tell you, you can compare those between them and see which one is a better investment. So there's a couple different options there. I've got an apartment building, single family home, and trailers. I like the trailers these days. They can be great investments. So I have a client that I'm working with right now. So I just printed out the numbers that I am running for their property to show you an idea of what you can get right now. So we looked at this house yesterday. So the rent on it, well, we'll start with purchase price. So purchase price is going to be roughly $500,000. So I worked that into my formula here as part of the mortgage and the cap rate and all that kind of stuff. On a rental property, you need to put down at least 20%. So that's a bigger amount. And that is on here as well as down payment. So $102,000 down payment. That's not including your closing costs, which can be a couple $1,000s. But small numbers like that don't make a huge difference. So what we do here is we look at how much rent could you get on the lower end and then on the higher end. So on this property, it's 3 bedrooms upstairs, and after they renovate it, it's going to be 2 bedrooms downstairs. So that's about $2,300 on the low end for the upstairs rent and $1,700 on the low end for the downstairs. So I added that up. I take out utilities, insurance, maintenance costs, vacancy, which I calculate vacancy at 0 because you can get a renter within 2 days in this town. Like, there's no reason why it should be going vacant. That's not going to be a common thing to have happen. And then, so you'll get your net operating income on this one is $35,000 a year. You're going to be in the positive after you've paid your expenses. Cap rate comes in on the low end at 6.6, on the high end at 7.5. So these are today's rents. In this town, rent is constantly going up. Like, there's such a housing squeeze here that the competition is so high and the prices are constantly going up. So then I also calculated how much your mortgage is, how much you're gonna have left over after you pay a mortgage, and then your ROI on that. So you can take a look at those numbers. If you look at the banks lately, oh, actually I printed a few of those. So you guys can each have one. Katie doesn't need one.
Want to share?
I'm good. So
You got that?
if you compare to what you're getting on a GIC, a mutual fund, any of those kind of things, here you're getting like 6 to 9% with interest rates, your mortgage interest rate at 6%. So yeah, you say, oh, mortgage rates are so high right now, but you're still getting 6 to 9%. Like, that's huge compared to a lot of the investments out there these days. It's really hard to find an investment that gives you that much of a return. yes, there is work to it. Yes, there are expenses, but if you consider it a job, you're making $35,000 a year off of this house, just owning it and making sure that it runs properly. So how much time do I put into my rentals? Well, if I have a turnover, so somebody moves out, I'll put in maybe like 5 minutes posting the ad on Facebook, maybe a cumulative half hour sending people applications to fill out to me, and then probably an hour showing them the property. So in under 2 hours, I've got a new renter. Generally, that's the way it's gone for me for the past several years. And then when it comes to maintenance, I make my husband do all that, so it doesn't take me any time. But it's, you know, if you pay someone for maintenance, well then that's a little bit of an expense there. If you've got someone who's handy in your life, that makes it way easier. And there's a lot of things that once you get the house set up and running, you don't have to do much. Like maybe it's an appliance repair, maybe it's like a doorknob that sticks or something, right? Or you've got a big issue, which is something that you're probably planning for, like a hot water tank, a furnace, a roof, that kind of thing, right? So that's on a single family home with a suite right now. And then I will show you, this one is available right now, it just came on the market this week. This is a trailer. I find them to be quite profitable. Lots of people have issues with trailers because of the stigma associated with living in a trailer. But in today's market, that's just part of life. A lot of people have to live and own in trailers because you gotta live somewhere. And there's actually a lot of great ones out there with nice little communities and great little parks. So this one you'd get at least $2,000 a rent. It's 2-bedroom. You get a little bit more because it's got its own yard. It's nicer. $2,000 a month rent, $24,000 yearly. After all your expenses, because trailers are a little bit cheaper to own. You don't pay as much property taxes, and utilities are often covered by the trailer park. So some of the expenses are lower, but you do pay a pad fee, which covers some of those things. So here you're coming out with $19,000 after expenses in the year, and then you can get a return on your income of 8 to 14%. So yeah, that, and the 14% is based on if you're charging $2,200 a month, which is definitely feasible. So those are just, you know, a couple examples of what you can do with your money. So on top of getting a cash flow, the other aspect is appreciation. So with appreciation, house prices generally go up. So I have a chart here. This is house prices in Canada since 2005. So one line represents the composite benchmark, which is they look at the average kind of house and then show you what that looks like. And then the other one is the actual average. So it's always going up, right? We know in 1980, houses were a heck of a lot cheaper than they are now. So over the long term, if you purchase a rental property to invest, you're probably not intending to sell it in a year or 5 years even. You want to hold it long term. And on top of your cash flow that you're earning every year, you're also going to be earning appreciation. So that can, once you sell it, it can be quite profitable as well. Plus, all the income that's coming in is paying for the house. So it's paying the principal and it's paying the interest on it, so that's not coming out of your pocket. So one thing we talk about in investment properties is the BRRRR method. So you guys are going to know everything you need to know about investing after this. So the first thing you do is buy, then you renovate, you refinance, rent, and repeat. So once you refinance, you take out that money from that property and you turn it over into the next one, and you keep doing the same thing. So imagine you buy 3 houses that are making you $35,000 a year. That's $100,000 right there, right? So that's a significant profit for doing not a whole lot of work. So how do you buy an investment property? Because a lot of people are like, this doesn't make sense. How do I buy another property when I'm already paying for mine and I can barely cover my own bills? One, because they pay for themselves, you can put that back into your financing of it. But so the first option is you save up your pennies for your 20% down. That's a lot of money. So $102,000 on that $500,000 property, that's a lot of money to save up. That's hard to do. So not everybody can do that. Next thing you can do is, get a huge inheritance or win the lottery. Anybody doing that? I'm not. Then you can also buy a new house, move into that house, and make your house a rental property. So if you have a house that you think could be a good rental, then it actually saves you a lot of money doing it that way, because instead of having to pay 20% down, you then have to pay between 5 and 10% down. So it's a lot less cash that you put out. So, and you make the next one your primary residence. The initial one is now a rental property. And then the last way is to refinance the house that you're in. So you talk to someone like Amanda, and then you say, I want to buy a rental property, and they see how much your house is worth right now and how much you're owing on your mortgage, and then they give you some of that difference, and you have cash in your pocket, and then you can go out and put that down on a new house. And you say, well, how do I qualify for that much money? But that's where the income from the property can be put back into your mortgage application, and you can end up working it that way. So yeah, that's who, what, where, and why of buying a rental property. And if you want to know more or start looking for them, please give me a call or refer your friends if you know anybody who wants to do that. So that's it today.